Welcome to the first in a series of 10-minute bite-sized demonstrations for SAP's Business Planning and Consolidation, otherwise known as BPC. I'm Azim Khan, your presenter for today, and I'm the Solutions Director at AIS Consulting. Our first demo looks at an example of budgeting for sales and margins within the manufacturing industry. First things first, if you're viewing this presentation on YouTube, then please select the high definition and full screen options indicated in the slide. This will give you the best viewing options. So who are AIS Consulting? Well, we're a UK-based performance management consultancy who specialise in finance process transformation and CFO systems. We do have over 6 years' experience implementing BPC, and we've helped a range of companies from the FTSE 100s to mid-sized organisations. Now on to the next slide. So what is SAP BPC and what's it used for? Well, we can see from this overview slide that BPC is a unified system for your CFO's financial processes. So your financial consolidation, budgets, forecasts, scenarios, and reporting are all handled in one place. Our actuals consolidation includes automated consolidation adjustments, intercompany, currency translation, and journals. Budgets include sales, headcount, expense and capex planning, and also calculated cash flows. Planning can be top-down, bottom-up, or a combination of both, and can be driver or activity-based. We can easily produce forecasts, rolling forecasts, and business scenarios. Finally, BPC has an open architecture that allows easy integration with source systems such as general ledgers, HR systems, and other operational systems. During this session, we'll be demonstrating sales planning using BPC Complete for manufacturing from AIS Consulting. So very briefly, BPC Complete is a pre-packaged solution built by AIS that we use as a starting point and accelerator for our BPC projects. The benefits of using BPC Complete are that we reduce the risk of rolling out a new solution by ensuring a high-quality system build, and also the consultancy fees and delivery timescales are reduced. So moving on swiftly, let's begin the demonstration. So this is the standard launch page for BPC. From here I can access BPC Web, BPC for Word, BPC for PowerPoint, but for this demonstration we're going to be using BPC for Excel. So I've now launched BPC for Excel. It's the same Excel that you know and love, but without the related spreadsheet problems. You'll notice I have additional E-menus at the top here that roughly correlate to analysis and reporting, data and commentary submission, report publication, and data management. On my right-hand side over here, I have a context-sensitive action pane. This changes depending on where I am and what I'm doing to allow greater ease of use. So I'm now going to open a business process flow, otherwise known as a BPF. As you can see, my key financial processes are all contained in these BPFs. This means that they are all managed in BPC, again demonstrating the concept of a unified system. So we have our monthly actuals, our quarterly forecast, business scenario modelling, weekly sales analysis, statutory consolidation, and budget 2010. We'll be running our sales and margin budgeting process for 2010 budget. So what you'll now see is the BPF for the 2010 budget. As you can see, the BPF is a sort of to-do list that guides your users through the process. And in practice, some of the greatest benefits that we see from BPFs are during early rollout of a new system, where their intuitive nature leads to a greater level of acceptance from new users. Another key benefit here is that the structured layout allows more control over the process and makes it easier to support and monitor. So let's get going with process sub-step 1.1. So here I have a data entry schedule with my SKUs across the top and my prices, volumes and raw materials costs down the side. I'm going to, for ease, copy my information from the beef and potato pasty and copy it into our sample product that we're going to be using for this demo. You can see I've got a direct margin percentage here of 26.12. Let's remember that percentage because we'll see that later on in the demonstration. And now I'll just send the data and continue with the next step. So next I'm going to click on substep 1.2. And here I have a schedule that shows me my seasonality percentages by week for each product. I'm going to be basing my seasonality on last year's sales volumes. As an example, I know that I'm going to be selling off my sample product in the first month of 2010. So I'm going to increase my weightings in January. So you can see I've now got a heavier weighting in January and the rest of the year has adjusted itself accordingly. I now want to send this information back to BPC so I can use it to phase my budget volumes. Okay, that's done, so I can now close this schedule. So next I click substep 1.3. Okay, now what I have here is a schedule that will help me phase my case sales for my sample product over the full year. So my starting point is a full year number based on 9 months actuals case sales plus 3 months of forecast. I can apply an uplift or overwrite this number. I'm going to apply a 5% uplift. So the total to allocate has been uplifted now by 5%. Next I can select a different phasing method for my case sales. So I can select, for example, a proportional method, which is splitting straight 110 cases across each week for the whole year, or I can select my seasonality that I set in the previous schedule. Notice again here I've got the heavier weighting in January where I adjusted the seasonality phasing. So now I'm going to send this data back to BPC. So just to recap at this point, so far I've input unit prices and costs for my sample product. I've also input the case volumes and phased them to a seasonality profile. Based on that information, BPC will now have already calculated the sterling sales and margins for this product, as we'll see in the next schedule. So next I select Process Substep 1.4. So the first thing to observe is that the sales values and margins have been calculated. Also remember the 26.12 margin percentage on our sample product. In this schedule, I want to apply a 5% discount in January and see the effect this has on margins. I'm sending this discount information now back to BPC. So notice that the margins recalculate automatically and my new gross margin percentage is 22.23% after applying that 5% discount. Now I'll close this schedule. Next I want to review the full year sales and margin budget for our sample product. So I click Process Substep 1.5 Review Budget. So we can see I have a total budget sales for my sample product of 570k. I can easily change the view of this report to look at all products. As you can see, the report refreshes automatically and my total budget sales for all products is 2.367 million. Next I want to analyse my sales budget against my prior year actuals. Finally, I select Process Substep 1.6. Here we can see the full year variances for all products. I have a negative sales variance of 2.7 million that I want to analyse. I click on the variance and I can then see that same variance split out by products. The reason the variance is so high is because I've not yet entered budget numbers for most of my products. For my sample product, I have a positive variance of 38,000. BPC has also calculated the price and volume variances, so I can see that my 38,000 absolute variance is made up from a price variance of 11,400 and a volume variance of 26,600. This demonstrates the analytical power of BPC. When I input my drivers, BPC calculates the sales and margins for my products, and also the variances and sub-variances for analysis. This brings us to the end of this bite-sized demonstration. The demonstration featured BPC Complete for manufacturing, but AIS have a number of accelerator applications across various industries. Please contact us if you're interested in finding out more. My email is indicated on the slide and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for taking the time to view this bite-sized demonstration.